So today we want to make this mock mediation as realistic as possible, and here's how it will run. What we're going to do, we're going to start with a short joint session with everyone together. Then we'll move into 2 rounds of private caucuses where the mediator will meet with each party in turn. And then at the end, we'll come back into a final joint session followed by a question and answer session. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by 4 of Mediator Locator's hugely experienced and expert panel lawyer mediators. We have Tim Constable from Bates Wells, who will act today as the mediator. Morning, Tim.
Oh, good morning.
We've got Jeff Lewis from Brabner's, who will be leading the claimant's side. We have Rachel Heenan from Capsticks, who will lead the defendant's side. And we have Michael Chambers from HM3 Legal. And Michael will facilitate the joint session and lead reflections and a Q&A at the end. Although Jeff and Rachel will lead their respective groups, we do want everyone in those groups to feel free to contribute with their thoughts and ideas, so please don't be shy. They'll be there to facilitate and marshal their team's views, but all perspectives are welcome and would wish to be heard. So when I hand over to Tim in a few moments, I'll be allocating everyone into groups. There's 3 groups. There's observers, claimants and defendants. The observers will follow Tim as the mediator parties. The claimants will follow Jeff into their private sessions, and the defendants will follow Rachel into theirs. I'll be managing the team side of things, so please bear with me because I have to do manual allocations into respective rooms, but I'll try to do it as quickly and efficiently as possible. And I can see everyone's got their microphones muted, so thanks for that. That's a really good tip with a large group to avoid any interference. So I'd like to welcome you all again and thank you for being here and joining us. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Tim. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Good morning, everyone. This is the mediation between Spring Finance and Care Chairs. Ordinarily, at this point, you'd have met with me in your own private rooms. I'd have introduced myself and I'd have taken you through the ground rules. Let's imagine we've done that. At this point in the poll room session, I would usually ask the room to go around and introduce themselves. But given that there is a lot of representatives today, I will just ask Jeff and Rachel, please, if they could introduce themselves.
Hello, my real name is Rachel Heenan, and we've agreed that I'm going to be called Rachel today to avoid confusion. And I am the owner of Care Chairs for today.
Yes, I am Jeff Lewis from the administrator of Spring Finance.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether any of you have been involved in commercial litigation, but imagine if today was a court case rather than a mediation. Then I don't know about you, but it's quite often to be a bundle of nerves the night before a court case. The reason being is that you have no true idea how the judge will react, because courts are expensive gambling dens quite often. Today is different. Today you are in control of your destiny. I want you to imagine equally tomorrow when you wake up and this dispute, which has been bugging you for months, is off your desks. The peace dividend is enormous, so please bear that in mind. Mediation is quite often fun. My role today is often there's a misconception about what a mediation is. A mediator, my role is not to be a judge. I'm not a referee. I'm not there to deliver any opinion about the state of play of the case. My role is to facilitate a negotiation between the parties. The statistics don't lie. 90% of all mediations result in an amicable settlement on the day or shortly after. That is that's a very significant figure. And also bear in mind that most court cases also settle. The vast majority of all court cases settle. But the question is when they settle. Is it right that the doors of the court? Today, the parties have come to mediate early on and we are already all to be congratulated in that. This day is without prejudice, which means that nothing which is said today will be taken down and used in evidence in front of any court if the mediation doesn't succeed. Then today is also confidential. Nothing which is said in the building today can or will be reported out of the building, for example, to the trade press. And then, most importantly, what I regard as the magic secret ingredient of a mediation to make it successful is that when we retire in a moment to our rooms, then everything which I say to you in that room and everything which you say to me will remain in that room and will not be spoken to the other side unless you give express permission to allow me to say something. Now, that enables you to speak freely to me, and it enables me to speak freely to you, because the essence of a successful mediation is all about communication. Finally, today is voluntary, so you can, and I hope you don't, but you can feel free to leave at any time. Those are the 5 magic ingredients of mediation, and I hope that you will see that it will work. Mediation normally takes place during the day, often into the early evening or even the later hours. Today we're going to concertina the whole thing into an hour and a half, which might make it one of those 10% cases which doesn't succeed today, but let's see how we go. I'm always optimistic, and you will see what a remarkable process it can be. So I now turn to the case. Spring Finance claims in the commercial court against Care Chairs, and we will hear brief opening statements from Jeff on behalf of Spring Finance and then Rachel on behalf of Care Chairs. When Jeff or Rachel is speaking, can I please ask that everybody listens in respectful silence and see what each side has got to say. So, any questions before I turn to Jeff? Incidentally, if anyone does have any questions during the course of the day, please just click the raise hands button, and then you'll easily be seen. So, on that, Jeff, if you would like to say a few words on behalf of the claimant, Spring Finance.
Yes, thank you, Tim. Look, our position is very straightforward, really. When you borrow money, you have to pay it back, and this seems to be an alien concept to Care Chairs. Back in 2019, Spring Finance financed the lease of a machine called the Springmeister. There was a finance agreement. The total price was £950,000, and it was to be paid by instalments. And all of a sudden, after 5 years, without any warning whatsoever, the payments stopped. There was no letter saying we're going to stop the payments because there are problems with the machine. The payments just stopped. So we served a formal default notice. Still, there was no payment, and so we now claim the outstanding balance on the machine of £500,000, and we also demand delivery up of the machine, as we're entitled under the finance agreement to do. What Care Chairs say now is that the machine wasn't working properly. It was unfit for purpose, they say. Well, where's the evidence? The mediation statement from Care Chairs says that the springs produce squeaky chairs. Well, this machine was 5 years old when the payments stopped. Care Chairs seem to think that they can just stop paying for a machine because after 5 years, some of the springs that it produces make a bit of a squeak, or at least so they say, because they haven't actually produced any evidence to that effect. We say, of course, that that's a preposterous position, and that's why we've sued them. We are approaching this mediation with the right mindset for mediation, but Care Chairs should be under no illusion that we think their case is hopeless, and that we won't hesitate to see this case right the way through to trial if we have to.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Rachel.
Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity. We find ourselves in this position through no fault of our own. My grandfather's company has been established for over 100 years, and we're famous for our craftsmanship, of our furniture for the elderly and infirm. Quality is at the heart of what we provide, and that's the issue here. the machine that we were paying for was simply not up to scratch. The stamping mechanism wasn't calibrated to the correct date. It leaked oil all over the components. Despite the contract warranting 1,000 springs per day, it was only producing 500 springs. And we were starting to worry that we couldn't meet orders. And then the final thing is it squeaked. And part of the reason we chose this machine was for its quality and to ensure that the springs would provide the comfort that the elderly and infirm need. My final point is, as the company's in administration, you have to wonder why. The administrator has a duty to seek a quick and cost-effective recovery of the monies and not pursue us for a claim they won't win. That said, I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to participate fully in the mediation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both. That's very helpful. We're going to now retire to our rooms. Before we go, please treat today positively, optimistically, and I am very hopeful of a successful outcome in the next hour or so. Let's see what we can do. Over to Stuart to do a sort of Hogwarts apparition to our various respective rooms, and see you all shortly.
Lovely. Thanks, Tim. I've got 10 of you going into the claimant's room and 11 of you going into the defendant's room. We'll be along shortly with Tim and the observers. So I'm opening the rooms now.
Right. Jeff and team, good morning again. I'm coming with my observers, and there's a lot of people in the room. Now, this is completely interactive. As I say, it's all without prejudice. It's all confidential. What is said in this room stays in this room unless you give me express permission to the contrary. And that means that all of you can feel free to say what you wish without fear or favour. Thank you very much, Jeff, for your brief introduction. Can I ask, first of all, what did you think about what Rachel said in her opening?
Well, it's all rubbish, isn't it? I mean, we're not really interested in their 100-year reputation. Their reputation might be enhanced in our eyes if they actually paid what they're supposed to pay. So no, I thought it was rubbish. All this stuff about craftsmanship and quality. It's taken 5 years for them to decide that the machine's not up to scratch, and we just don't accept it.
Okay, thank you. Esther, you had your hand up, I think.
Sorry, I don't know if it's good etiquette to disagree, but I felt that we need to hear the emotion that was coming from Rachel, and the fact that the history and the family connection is of importance there. I feel we need to signal that we hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Look, we've got a short time today. Yeah, what do you want to get out of today?
Well, £500,000. Well, £500,000, which is the money that we're owed, and of course we have the right to get to repossess the machine.
Yeah.
We're under, as the administrator, I'm under a duty to get the money in that's owed to this company.
Yeah.
That's all that the creditors are interested in, frankly, spurious reasons that are advanced opportunistically by care chairs are of no consideration, or of no relevance or interest to the creditors.
Yes. And you're looking for both the £500,000 and the machine, is that right?
Well, we certainly got the right to both. Yeah.
Well, are you looking for both today? What's going to be a successful day for you? What can you live with?
Well, I think if we got the 500,000, that we could live with that, because that's the position we ought to be in.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at it equitably, I suppose, if they'd done what they're supposed to do, then we would get we'd be paid the 500,000.
Yeah.
And they would keep the machine. So we don't need the machine.
Right.
I don't know what we do with it. If we've got what we sell it,
Yeah, yeah.
but of course the resale value would be less than the true value of the machine.
Yeah. Jeff,
Yeah,
do
look,
you know what the sorry, Jeff, do you know what the value is of the machine?
I'm afraid I don't. No.
Okay. Okay. So you've got the ongoing court case. Do you know, haven't have an idea about what your costs are so far?
Yeah, I think they're about £20,000 so far.
Right. And if it carries on, the court case, if today doesn't work, do you have any idea what your costs are going to be?
I'd have thought 100,000. I mean, it's a finger in the air job estimating costs in litigation, particularly when we don't actually know really what the detail of Care Chair's case is. I mean, we've got a few headline points. Obviously, experts' fees are going to need to be incurred. I don't know. I don't think there'll be any change from 100 grand, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And are you 100% going to win?
Well, at the moment, yeah, we've seen nothing from them. I mean, our case, we've got a contract and it says they've got to pay this money. That's our case. It's not terribly complex.
Yeah.
They have got to establish that there is the fault with this Springmeister machine that they assert, and so far they haven't come up with anything. We've just heard a few little headline points from Care Chairs, but it's just it's just bare assertion.
Yeah. All right. So, and you're in administration. Can't overlook that. And do you know anything about Care Chair's financial situation?
No, I don't, except that my experience as an administrator is that when people stop paying money for no good reason, it's often an indication that they haven't got any money.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. Are they going to have the money to pay you if you win your court case?
Yeah, I don't know, but as the administrator, we can't be held to ransom by a defendant that might or might not be impecunious.
Yeah, that's all very helpful, Jeff. I think we'll leave it there. I'm going to go now and speak to the Care Chair's room, and assuming, I don't know how that's going to be done because Stuart's not here. Anyway, we'll sort that out in a moment. I'm going to speak to them. While I'm away, can you have a further thought whether in all the circumstances, if today is going to succeed, whether there might be some flexibility on your side? Because I think probably, Jeff, if your stance will remain that you want the money, all of it, then it's possibly unlikely that today won't succeed and you'll need to look ahead to a litigation future. So have a think about the flexibility. In the meantime, I'm going to go away and see what Care Chairs have got to say.
Well, I understand that, Tim, and we'll do that. But can I just ask two things of you?
Yes,
First of all, please can you communicate to them that we are not here to roll over. We're here to I've got a duty to get the money in for the creditors. I can't be seen to be writing off huge sums of money just on the say so of a company that doesn't want to pay. So please communicate that message that we are more than happy to see this through to the end.
Yes.
And secondly, just touching on the point that you were raising before about their funds. I mean, obviously, it would be helpful to know what their funds are. And I appreciate that you can't tell us anything they say to you. But I mean, if there's something we should know about their financial situation, and I'm not saying, by the way, that we will just accept what they say at face value, but if there's something that we should know, and you're at liberty to pass that on to us, that would be worth knowing in the course of our deliberations.
It's very helpful, Jeff. So just to make clear, I'm going to pass on your statement that you're not here to roll over, and you would like them, if possible, to let you have some detail about their financial situation. All right.
Well, I think on that second point, I'll leave that to your discretion, Tim. If you think that it's relevant, then do tell it. Then yes, do try and get.
I'll let you know if I'm allowed to. Yeah. I'll let you know if I'm allowed. I hope your rooms are all right. This is obviously online. One of the great advantages of online mediation is that in what is usually the long silences in between when the mediator's in another room, you can go off and make a cup of tea, or you can go off and do other things. But I will endeavour to be back to you in about 5 minutes. Okay, so we're going to do it very quickly. Stuart?
Okay, so you're happy to move rooms, yeah?
I'm happy to move rooms, or I'm happy to go to our little mediator group just so we can have a debrief. Up to you.
Lovely. I'll move us into the main room and leave all the claimants behind. Okay, I'll do that. I'll be moving you across as soon as I can.
Great. Just 1 minute between us. Look. Jeff is playing hardball. He's a professional. He's doing this for a living, but to a certain extent, that's for my ears. Whereas in reality, he's got to face the facts that he's got limited funds, and he's already alive to the fact that his opponent might not even be able to pay, even if he wins. There's a clear issue, seems to me, about the machine. Might be a highly valuable machine, might just need a bit of repair, and he's already prepared to give that up, so that's a little bit of play. We're just talking about the money. Any thoughts, questions, comments before we flip to the defendant?
From my side, Tim, I mean, this is pretty for the mill for some of the stuff you and I have done, which I thought was really interesting when I read it. I was just asking earlier, though, that there isn't a supplier involved here, which is odd, given that the core of her argument is that the equipment's not working properly. So this is just, so I said I'm making the assumption that the finance company is also the supplier and the maintainer. The bit that I'm just really struggling with, and on the side of the finance company here, is 6 years later they're making a claim to say it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of empathy for the guy on the other side saying, well, you just can't say that. If you haven't told us it's not working, how would we know? Yeah. So that's kind of, I'm sided with him on that.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with her view at the moment. So going to be really interested to hear what she thinks. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely right, Rod. And great to have you with us today. As a matter of the legality, the supplier has sold the machine to the finance company, which then provides it, and therefore the finance company is the supplier for the purposes of this. It's got some legal rough edges, but that's the gist of it for today.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Louise. And just one final question. I'm assuming that there is not a hell and high water clause in the leasing agreement then, or the hire purchase agreement, because normally the finance company would be separate to the supplier. So you know they'd have a cut and shut case here, and then they just enjoin the supplier. So if we're just keeping it simple for the purpose of the exercise, I get it. Okay, I understand. Okay, sorry, Louise, I cut across you.
These are fair points, Rod, but for the purposes of today, we're less worried about that. But you know, it's a classic thing when one is a mediator, is that somebody may have a strong case, somebody may have a weaker case, but that's a matter largely for the parties' perceptions. My role today is to bring them together regardless of the cases, and if today doesn't succeed, then you know, a judge will make a decision in due course. But there could be a number of things to play in the background quite often, and what you're seeing here is basic ability to be able to afford vast amounts of court fees, and do we need the money, and who can afford it? That sort of idea is coming into play. Okay, so Stuart, so let's get straight to the defendant if we can, Stuart. Yep. And
I'll move you across right away.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Thanks, Tim.
Well, we've had an opportunity. I just sent them off for a quick comfort break, Tim.
Yes.
So we weren't sure when you were coming back. So I've had lots of great counsel in terms of. I mean, we're stuck, aren't we, between both parties wanting to resolve this, but neither party wanting to lose or pay any money. That's our issue. And I'm still stuck with the machine, which, you know, is not. I can't use for production, so I'm losing money as a result of that. And however we resolve it, at some point we've got to work out what we're going to do with the machine. I've either got to spend money to repair it or send it back at cost, and there's an additional cost that we haven't factored in. So that's where we are. We're a bit cross, actually, if I'm honest.
I understand. Yeah. Do you know how much this machine's worth
now?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because we've had it for 5 years.
Yeah, you've had it for 5 years, and it hasn't gone wrong before now.
No, not as far as I'm aware.
Any idea from your experts or somebody how long this machine was expected to last for making its springs?
I mean, they're pretty robust. They're pretty solid. So, you know, because the agreement, I was expecting at least 10 years out of it.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. So you've had 5 years out of the 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know that obviously that Spring finances it in administration. What do you think about that?
Well, I imagine that they may have a number of unhappy customers, which is one of the reasons they're in administration. But I also recognise that the administrator will be looking at this from a different perspective than, you know, a sort of normal party, if I can call it like that. So it's about money for them, isn't it? Where for me, it's about being able to carry on business, protect our reputation, and obviously it's about money. There's quite a lot of considerations for us, which is why I feel so strongly about it.
I understand, and I understand you accept that the 500,000 is outstanding, but you say that is that you're not going to pay that because the machine that you bought with that 500,000 no longer works, and that's the situation. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you want to get out of today?
I want to be able to start production again tomorrow. I want to be able to. I don't want the machine on the premises, if I'm honest. I want to find something else. I'm not convinced. Well, because they're in administration, they won't be able to repair it, will they? So I need to source another machine. And I don't want this hanging over me anymore, and I don't want to have to pay a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. It's a family business, so.
Could you get it repaired?
I could, but my confidence is knocked, if you know what I mean. I think the minute I send out a squeaky product to one of my clients, it becomes a nightmare for them.
Yeah.
Because we then have to send an engineer in, you know, they're not in, we don't have the part. It's just not, and particularly for that demographic, it's not fair.
Yeah, I understand. And you mentioned money on your side. Talk to me about that.
Well, we're both going to be on the hook for quite a lot of legal costs, aren't we? I mean, I can't really afford 100 grand in terms of legal costs, but equally, I don't want to pay the 500,000 that they say I owe, because I just don't think that's fair, because they haven't provided a machine that does what I've been paying the money for.
Let's just look at the pessimistic side, and today doesn't work. you are talking about a lot of legal costs. You're talking about the uncertainty of a court case and possibility of losing that, and then that would be the 500,000 plus potentially losing the machine, plus their legal cost, plus swallowing your own. That's quite a hefty bill. Could you do you think you could afford all of that?
Well, if I have to, yeah. If I have to, because I don't want to pay the $500,000. So it seems to me there must be I mean, all the administrator's worried about is money. There must be a compromise that we can reach, which is why we're here. Yes,
absolutely. Look, let's say I'll be frank with you. I don't think today's going to succeed unless obviously there's some compromise on both sides, but on your side that would involve probably payment of money. Yeah, I'm not telling you to pay any money. I'm not voicing an opinion in that respect. It just seems to me that if you want today to succeed, there's got to be some sort of budge in terms of money from your side. Now, I'm keen to know what you could live with. Would that be? Could you afford to pay the whole lot in one go, or would if you are looking to pay any money, would that have to be in instalments? Talk to me about the basic cash flow.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be in instalments. It would have to be a much smaller amount than $500,000, and I wouldn't want to pay any of their legal costs.
Yeah,
we'd have to all stomach the legal costs so far.
Yeah, I can understand that. But just looking at it from the other side, if you were looking to pay it in instalments, the other side might want to know why. Is there something that I can tell them about your financial position which may help you? Because if they understand about your financial position, then they may be more inclined to agree to instalments.
Well, they'll know from the contract that I paid $100,000. I think it was $100,000 a month.
Yeah,
that was what it was under the contract, and that's what I've budgeted for.
Yeah,
in terms of cash flow.
Yeah, all right. Well, between us, what do you want to get out of today? Because I was asked to make it clear, and I will just make it clear that the other side are taking a robust approach to this, as no doubt you might want me to tell them you're taking a robust approach to this. But to get a success today, have to come together. How are we going to settle today? What's your view?
So I discussed this with my advisors about whether or not tactically one of us should make the offer, and we decided that we didn't care and we were grown up.
Yeah.
So we should start the ball rolling in terms of an offer to them, if that's helpful.
I often there's a very interesting thing about who goes first in terms of offers. The natural instinct of people is to let the other side go first, because then that's their line in the sand. But I often think that if you make an offer first, you set the agenda. And so I welcome you going first, Rachel. I think it's a good idea. It's sensible. What did you have in mind?
So we need something around legal costs. So party bears legal costs. The return of the machine at their cost. They come and take it away, and then there's no further liability.
So they have the machine. Yeah?
Yeah, they have the machine. We don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think we do, because I've lost confidence. And then there was a debate about how much money we should offer, but I'm going to go with Oliver's advice. Oliver. So we would offer £150,000 all in at stage payments, please. Say 75 and 75 for sake of splitting it.
Yeah. And Per what? Per month or
A quarter.
per
That's,
quarter?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to
Is
make
there
sure
anything
I've
else
got
you
that.
think I've missed?
I'm sorry?
Is there anything else you think I've missed?
Well, let's go through it. Each side bear their own legal costs. You'll give them back the machine and you'll pay them £150,000 in quarterly instalments of £75,000 each.
And we want confidentiality provision, obviously.
Confidentiality, of course.
Can I ask a question, Tim? Do they want the machine?
I am going to find that out. And the best way of finding that out is, if, with your permission, to convey your offer to them so that we can have some concrete upon which to make progress. But I can tell you, Rachel, that this is welcome progress. I can't think of anything which you've missed, but if you have, you needn't worry, because nothing is agreed until everything is agreed. And we will see what the other side have got to say. But I warmly thank you all for that first start.
Over to you, Tim.
Right, okay, thanks. Thank you very much for waiting, Jeff. I will endeavour to be 5 to 10 minutes with you, and then we will go back to the other side and we will push this on. I am pleased to say we've made progress, and we've received an offer. Before I go into that, in respect of your couple of points, Jeff, I did make clear your robust approach to the situation, and it may not surprise you that they were eliciting an equally robust approach back. There it is. I can't resolve that one. I can't resolve that one today. In terms of finances, I don't have a clear message back for you, Jeff, and you'll just have to take whatever external information regarding their finances that you can. If you want me to repeat the question, then of course I can do so, but let's see how we go. These conversations which are having, rather than 5 to 10 minutes, they would normally take an hour, probably, because you would need to get very much into the skin of it, and you would need to be properly exploring the all of the issues, which to a certain extent we are just slightly skipping lightly over. To have received an offer early is good. I don't know what you'll make of it. But that always identifies progress. What you'd normally expect is no more than 1 to 2 rounds of what might be described as exploratory work, whereby we look at the issues, and there's a certain amount of reality testing in terms of people's positions. You can always expect people to be saying to the mediator that they've got a very robust approach. Sometimes that isn't the case. Sometimes you will have parties in a mediation session just with the mediator begging for mercy and saying, we're in real trouble, please can you get us out of this? And that can often actually pay dividends in itself, because you will engender trust with the mediator, and you'll get the mediator to do the work and see what you can do. So either way can work. Sometimes an overly robust approach will just result in no deal, and it's all been a bit of a waste of time. But equally, a robust approach can send a message to the opponents, and it can soften them up, to be honest. But whichever approach you take, there's pros and cons in relation to it. Jeff, can you hear us? We have somebody from IT in Jeff's room. Yes, David.
Tim, sorry for the maybe perhaps elementary question, but in terms of evidence, if you say, for example, need to call on figures that you don't have with you at the time, are you able to do that if you share it with the other side, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Quite often, as in this case, there's a lot of information which isn't necessarily to hand because the parties haven't sort of considered it. In this case, the plain evidence, got you, Jeff, the plain evidence that we do not have is evidence of the value of the machine and evidence as regards whether it's repairable or anything like that. You know, you're sitting on a machine which is supposed to make, let's say, 1,000 springs a day for 10 years. That is a thing of must be some sort of value. Can it be repaired? Don't know. And I would be guessing, if it carries on, I would be getting the parties to look on that and to try and make phone calls in their own time with their people so that they can give us the information. A very good question, Jeff.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. You're with us. All right. Well, we get to the dramatic bit, which is the EastEnders duff, and we have an offer from the opponents. Hear me out. No shouts of consternation until at least I get to the end of it. All right. So the offer is, in terms of legal costs.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Jeff. You got me.
Sorry, Tim. I'm struggling. It's the volume now that's a problem.
Tim, and while Jeff's just trying to...
Yeah, it's all right.
Are you back?
Sorted.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. Go for it.
I'll be very quick before it cuts out again. Can you hear me, Jeff?
I can, yeah. Tim, can I... the bit before you go into the offer,
yeah.
I didn't quite catch the bit about their financial position. Were you saying you didn't have any information about their
I don't have
position?
any particular information to bring back to you. You find out what you can from sources available. If you want me to go back and press it, of course I will. But let's see what the offer says.
If it's not a factor that they're relying on, then no, I think I don't want to make too much of that if they're not making too much of it.
Well, here we go. The offer is as follows. Legal costs. Both sides bear their own legal costs. The machine, they will return that to you. In terms of money, they are prepared to pay £150,000 in instalments of 75,000, 2 instalments, 75,000 per quarter. And they'll want a confidentiality clause, normal style. That's the basics of the offer. If you think that there is something big that they're missing, then let us know. Is just before you have any comments, is the offer clear?
Yes, both parties to bear their own costs.
Yeah.
They'll return the machine to us.
Yeah.
Confidentiality clause, and they will pay £75,000 now, presumably, and £75,000 in 3 months' time.
I will go and seek clarification.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So, clarification, then you can assume that 75,000 now, 75,000 in a quarter.
Yeah, or at the outside, it's 75,000 within 3 months, and then 75,000 within 3 months thereafter. That's at the outside, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So yes, the offer is clear, except we haven't discussed actual payment dates. Exactly. But to be honest, Tim, I mean, I think it would be academic to discuss those payment dates, because we're having to wait for £150,000 when we're owed We're owed 500,000.
Yeah.
We've incurred 20,000 of costs. And we're going to get back a machine. Have they got any idea of what this machine is worth?
No, at the moment, the valuation of the machine is something which is very much up in the air on both sides. I suggest that the valuation, it might be important, but you might want to take your own expert evidence from your side. I very much imagine that if you've got this far in the court case, you will have expert evidence in the background, and you might want to consider that. But let me leave you for can I say, because it's time is running, can I leave you for 5 minutes and then consider what you want to do? Your basic idea, as you'll realise, is either you just reject the offer and make no counter offer, and that's probably the end of the day, or you might want to accept the offer, that's possibly optimistic, or you might want to make a counter proposal. Those are your real choices, and go to it quick, and I'll come back to you in 5 minutes if I may.
Yeah, can I just have a quick question though?
Yeah.
I'll take 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Are they interested in just a cash deal and keeping the machine, or don't you know?
Well, I would say on the face of it, no, because their proposal is that they'll give the machine back to you. That's their offer, and probably if you wanted something different, then you probably couch it by way of a counter proposal. But think about it.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
Just seems to me, this machine's got to have some value.
Well, not according to them. Not according to them. It's 6 years old, and according to them, it doesn't work.
Well, you might repair it.
Well, they can't have it both ways, can they? They can't say, well, it's a crap machine, and on the other hand, well, it's worth a lot of money.
Well,
anyway,
today might not work. You might be back in a courtroom tomorrow. Have a think about it. Come back to me in 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Tim.
Would it be possible to send Rachel a message just to say that we've delivered the offer, they're considering it, I'll be back to them in 5 minutes?
Yeah, let me leave and do that. I'll do that on my own.
All right.
You guys stay here.
Yeah. So
I'll be right back.
Mediator team, I always regard this moment as the most key moment in any mediation, not the first offer, but the counter offer. Once you get the counter offer, then you can get a pretty good idea whether it's going to succeed or not. If you get progressive motion, you never expect the offer to be accepted. It will never be accepted. What you will get is a horse trade. You'll get the parties moving steadily closer and closer and closer and closer and closer. And you can get an idea by how much closer, by the amount which they are prepared to come down. It looks at the moment as though neither side wants the machine, which I think is slightly missing a trick, unless they know something we don't. Of course, one side or the other might know that this machine really is utterly valueless. I don't know anything like that. But I personally thought that was good progress from Care Chairs to be making an offer. I mean, they may sense the reality of the situation, but nevertheless, that's good. I'm sensing a little fight from Jeff in this, and you will see that it's a softening up exercise. But the trouble for Jeff is that he's not telling the opponent how strong his case is. He's telling me, and to me, that's slightly water off a duck's back, because I've heard it all before. And I will not be passing on that sort of strong talk to the opponents, apart from in vague sentences. So, doesn't necessarily go anywhere. Can I have hands up or well, any questions, of course, but hands up. Who thinks it's going to settle in the next 10 minutes? Who doesn't? Those in favour of settlement?
I don't think it's going to get
well
there.
done, Louise. Okay, those in favour of no settlement?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think so. You know, there's only so much we can do in what is a short period of time. But you can imagine, you know, if this was going to be for a day, I would be thinking from that starting point from Rachel, I'd be quite confident of settlement. But if it's not going to settle today, it might be because of Jeff's approach, and we shall see in this next key offer, or we're just going to run out of time, or you know, something like that. But we've got closer. Even if it doesn't settle today, the parties are £150,000 closer than they were at the start. So these the statistics are, and it's provided by a company called Cedar, and it's just a little over 90% of cases settle on the day or shortly after. So even if it doesn't settle today, it may nevertheless go provoke a conversation between the parties, and it could result in a settlement in the next week or two. That's quite possible. So we've already made some progress. Did anyone have any questions at this point? No? All right. Okay, Stuart, shall we go back to see Jeff and to see what his offer is? Jeff, sorry to hurry you. I don't know if you've managed to have a conversation, and do you have a counter proposal to make?
I think we do, yes. Just before I go on to it, though, it's worth mentioning that there's various options that we have talked about here. Worth mentioning that one suggestion within our room, which I don't think we're going to go with as a counter offer, but it's important for this exercise, was for them to get the machine repaired at their expense, and then we'll take it back. I mean, I think there's practical issues there that probably turn us against that. But I was making the point that actually that's something that you can achieve in a mediation that you can't achieve in a court hearing. So it illustrates the flexibility that mediation gives.
You're absolutely right. That's a very good idea.
Yes. It's such a good idea that we're not going to offer it.
No, understood.
But in a real life mediation where we all knew more about the machine, then we might have gone down that route. So I'm an administrator, and I like cash, and I deal in cash, and the creditors deal in cash rather than in machines that may or may not be broken. So we think that we would like a cash deal, and they can keep the machine. We do accept that their offer was a compromise, and that it shows that they have been willing to talk to meet us a little bit. We don't think it's satisfactory, but at least they were making a gesture. So in recognition of that, and bearing in mind that this is a mediation, and we know that everybody goes away feeling a little hurt by the deal, we will offer to accept £350,000 as a cash settlement. That's obviously some way down from our 500,000 optimum. We get nothing for our £20,000 costs. Confidentiality, we didn't specifically discuss, but I don't think we've got any problem with that. So we'll go away for £350,000 on the basis that they haven't given us any reason to. They haven't said anything about any financial difficulties. I see no reason why that shouldn't be payable straight away. Although I guess if they wanted a bit of time to raise that, we could consider that.
Thank you very much. Just to make clear, so that I'll take this to the other side, it's thank you for your proposal. It's not acceptable. Counter offer. Both sides bear their own costs. Care chairs to keep the machine. You want £350,000. You really want up front, but you're prepared to listen if they want time. And you're okay with the confidentiality clause?
Yeah, I would prefer that you didn't offer that we'll give them time. Come back. Let's see what they say. That's really for your benefit only, Tim. I don't want to. If they're able to pay £350,000 now, I'd rather do that than put the idea in their heads that they can buy some time.
I understand that, Jeff. That's very clear. Okay, right. Well, Stuart, if you could apparatus us all back to see Rachel. Let's see what we can do. That's good progress from your side. Thank you, and we'll see there if there's a counter response.
Okay, over to you, Tim.
Right. If this was the day we'd settle this, Rachel, I'm sure.
We've got
a limited amount of time. Stuart, how long do we have before we wrap up?
Very brief. We said we'd finish around midday, so if you can keep it pretty short, we've got about 10 minutes.
I'm sure people won't mind if we run over 5 minutes. I need to go at 12. If it helps you, Tim, I've sort of explained that if this was a day, spend a bit more time talking to us about what was going on, and we'd probably, there is a deal to be done here, isn't there? But it's difficult to do it in 9 minutes.
Well, let me tell you what progress has been made. They thank you for your offer, but it may not surprise you to hear that your offer was not accepted, but there is a counter offer.
Okay.
They agree both sides bear their own costs. They would like you to keep the machine, but they want £350,000 and they would like it up front. And they will agree to a confidentiality clause. So the key points for you are the machine, where that goes, and the money, and how much and when. Yeah. So what I would ordinarily do, obviously, right now, is to give you some time to consider that and to consider what your response is going to be. But I fear, Stuart, that that's probably the end of the road for today, is it not? Yeah.
I would say so, just for people's time considerations, yes.
But nevertheless.
Well, I could come back now, but it's fine.
Go on, yes.
Well, I think there's a cost to them of keeping the machine, isn't there? So that has to give me a discount on the 350 for a start. I can't afford 350. I can't afford it up front. The most I can afford is 250 in staged payments. That's my final offer.
I'm sorry, what happens to the machine?
I'll keep the machine.
Okay, keep the machine.
Because
250.
What are they going to do with the machine? They've got to keep it somewhere.
Got you. Confidentiality, that's fine.
Yeah.
Both sides bear their own cost. 250. Stage payments, how?
We can agree that at some point. Yeah.
All right. Rachel, team, care chairs, thank you very much indeed. And we will now get back to the plenary session.
Thank you. Is everyone happy with that?
That's great work on your side. Thank you. Well, look, let me tell Spring Finance that there was an offer, and I also am pretty sure that it would have settled today had it been a full day, because you can see coming together, the convergence. There was a counter offer, which I will leave you with for eternity, which is both sides bear their own costs, which we obviously knew. Confidentiality clause, again, no controversy there. Care chairs want to keep the machine, and they are prepared to pay £250,000 in stage payments. And there we go. That's as far as we got. You could see the way that the negotiations would have pressed on. Had we reached an agreement, then there would have been a settlement agreement to sign up to. Depending on the complexity, that bit of admin can take half an hour, could take even 2 hours, depending on the complexity. But the key thing is, what you really want to do is get a signature on the day to avoid the awful buyer's remorse which can creep in. because you can only make the progress on the day, and after the day the parties go in their own separate directions. That ends my role, and now it's Stuart. Who's next?
So Michael is just going to give us a few reflections, and then if there's questions, Michael's happy to field those. So firstly, thanks, Tim. I think that's great. Michael, over to you.
Thanks, Stuart. I was just going to sort of pick up on a couple of things that I noticed throughout the day. The first is the joy of dealing with mediation over Teams and some of the technical difficulties that can bring. So thank you very much to Jeff for pretending to have issues with his headphones to show what difficulties there can be. Absolute blinder of a role there. And obviously Stuart, the last online mediation I did, my fear was always putting parties in the wrong room with the people that shouldn't have been in that room with them. So it is terrifying. Just from the observer's perspective and also the people in both rooms, it was quite clear to see that Tim's initial role within all of this was to build up rapport with each of the parties. What he needed to do was get them to a place where they were happy to share all with him and find out what they really want. In the initial sessions, it became quite clear that we were dealing with one party who was very sort of emotionally detached from the case, only ever interested in the financial outcome. And then on the other hand, you had Rachel, who had been involved in the family business, that been trading for over 100 years, and she wanted to maintain the good name of her grandfather who built this business up. So there's two very different approaches to it there, very commercial and probably quite emotional. As the sessions moved on, Tim was able to, by asking the right questions in the right way, get the parties to a point where they were happy to start talking about numbers. And as we were saying to the observers, Tim, that's the point where you get into a bit of a horse trading situation. So it's the pattern of the day, and this was probably an accelerated process today because we've only got an hour and a half, but a lot of the early part of the day would ordinarily be spent talking about how people feel, and then getting to grips with what it is that they actually want to achieve. There were a few things that Tim was doing just in terms of, I don't know whether people picked up on this, but in terms of active listening. So just prompting people where he thought that there was a little bit more information he could get out of them. Sort of, you know, just by using little sort of verbal cues or just nodding and just really paying attention. I think there was a certain amount of reality testing done as well, just in terms of the reality of what this looks like if it goes to a trial, or if the case doesn't settle today, or if it continues in litigation. It soon you start to get under the skin of what the parties really want, which Tim obviously managed to do in record time today, given our time constraints. But yeah, I think that was all I had to sort of pick up on, really. Has anybody got any questions that they'd like to ask the parties or the mediator? Oh, David.
I just wondered, Tim, in your experience, if the mediation doesn't successfully conclude at the end of the day, is it possible for parties to then decide to extend the mediation or come back at a further date and pick up where they left off, or is that just time frame done?
It can happen, but it's very rare. What you'll find is more likely either the parties go off by themselves and get to the end of the negotiation by themselves. So, you know, a couple of weeks, then it settles. Alternatively, the statistics are also that a litigation with a failed mediation is that much more likely to end up at trial than if there had been no mediation in the first place, because the parties have ticked the box in terms of telling a judge that they've tried mediation, and they also think that having gone through that settlement is useless and they're probably going to have to face the court, unfortunately. So that's the downside of a failed mediation, but it happens.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, David. Esther.
I was just wondering with the online thing, not because of the technical issues, but just I always think it's better to just be in the same place and have someone shuttling between rooms and just have a session together in a room. But do you feel that as a mediator?
Absolutely. It's the humanity. Part of this, the magic ingredients of mediation is that you are no longer you are facing human beings.
Yeah.
And that it's much easier to make peace with human beings. And in order to really convey the humanity, you really ought to be in the same room or the same building. Another method would be, rather than having the lawyers spar off against each other or the professionals, you get the two individuals together. The CEOs, you get them together or in a room together, increasing the humanity. So I couldn't agree with you more, Esther, that face-to-face is preferable.
Thank you.
Jeff, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just going to endorse what Tim said. I much prefer to be mediating face to face for all the reasons that Tim identified. But there's another reason as well, which is that everybody is invested a lot more if they all turn up in person. They've travelled, they're there. It becomes a bigger thing in their mind, and so everybody's keener to settle. So I think it's really a lot of benefits to having an in-person mediation. And I just think that the prospects of settlement are significantly increased if everyone's there in person.
That's very true.
It's such a good point, Michael. Can I just add? Sorry, I'm jumping in, but just very quickly, I think you're right. In person is better, but of course, there's plenty of scenarios where online is the only option, and maybe because people are located in different parts of the country, even different parts of the world, or certain mediations that may involve people who are perhaps elderly or neurodiverse, or all of those characteristics, which may mean that whilst in person's, I think, the best option, online is certainly better than not. And there's real value in the online process. And today's was quite tricky because I was moving lots of people around. You never usually have that many people to move around. You tend to go into the claimant's room and the only person that's jumping around is the mediator and maybe somebody shadowing. So it probably would be more slick. But I echo Michael's comments that Jeff did a fantastic job of faking all the IT problems. And I'm very, very impressed. So sorry to jump in. I'll hand back to the Q&A.
That's great, Stuart. Thank you. And Chantal, did you have a question as well?
Yes, I did. I was going to ask, in the event that the parties are evidently very far from reaching settlement, and it seems as though they're not going to make any moves towards shifting their positions, can a mediator make a call as to whether or not to continue?
You can, but and you would have to say, frankly, to both parties, look, as things stand, I just don't think it's going to work today. But I would never walk out myself, and it would normally result in one or the other party saying goodbye.
In those instances, though, Tim, what you're really doing is checking whether the parties do really want to settle it or not. Because if the option is there's the door or not, they may think, well, actually, hang on a minute, I need to put my back into this and come up with something that works. So if the parties aren't budging, that might encourage them to actually make a move.
I mean, look, if I don't settle, to a certain extent, I think I've failed, and I don't like to fail in a mediation, and I will try everything which is reasonably possible to get things to budge. You normally like to mix it up. You introduce parties to each other, something to break the backlog. Otherwise, there's an abiding question. Why are you here? Why have you spent so much time preparing for something which you don't want to succeed? So, but look, if there's 90% of cases which settle, there are 10% of cases which don't, and you can't avoid it. But I'll try everything.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. And David, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Michael. Just a question for Jeff. While they were considering their final counter offer, I just wondered if you and your team had come to any agreement, and whether or not you think that that would have been settled based on their final counteroffer?
On their final counteroffer that was just communicated to us just now, you mean?
Yes.
I think we probably would have had a bit of appetite for settling. I mean, my thoughts, because we were at 350 and they were at 250. I think I probably would have been thinking, well, let's do the obvious and compromise at 300. I don't know. I think in a real life scenario, I'd have thought, well, if they can afford over a short period of time to pay 250, they can probably afford to pay 350. But I think in our room, we actually thought their opening offer was pretty decent. And I think I'm sure we would have settled. I'm sure that even if we'd rejected the 250, if they'd held out for that, we probably would have gone back and accepted it.
We sped it up because of the time. We decided to make a quick offer, otherwise we'd be here at deadlock.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were conscious in our room that we were using an element of artistic license in order to illustrate the benefits of mediation, and that what ought to have taken, or what would normally take a day, was constituted into 90 minutes.
That's great. Stuart, if I can, shall I hand back to you now? I think we're just running over time a little bit.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Michael. I was just going to say, just on that final point, interestingly, in the papers, it said that the party was to spend up to 100,000 each on legal costs, and that curiously became the differential. So you probably would have split the difference, I imagine. And I was going to say also, when you think about it, these mediation probably last a whole day. I know there was a degree of artificiality to it, but you came from a position of intransigence to fairly close to a position of agreement in the space of 90 minutes. So look what you could achieve in the space of 8 hours, and that seemed to me quite remarkable. So unless anybody's got any other questions, I'll propose to close. What I wanted to say is, firstly, thanks ever so much to everybody for attending and supporting this mock mediation. I hope it's given you all a clear sense of how powerful mediation is and how it really does work in practice. The statistics do not lie. It really is an excellent form of dispute resolution, and the peace dividend that you get from solving things and going home the next day with this in the past is valuable, and I don't think we can underestimate that. Personally, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our panel of experts, to Tim for doing a first-class job as mediator and bringing us all together, Jeff for his very intransigent role as the cash-strapped administrator, and Rachel for her silky smooth care chairs presentation, which is all very much appreciated. And finally, Michael for the urbane and superb way you just handled the last question session. So thank you ever so much. It was really valuable. If you'd like to know more about mediation, there's a mediation guide that I've produced, which is on the website. You can register for that and download it. And we have a series of mediation Q&As on our YouTube channel. If you go onto YouTube, type in Mediator Locator, you'll find some interesting materials, and you may see some of the usual suspects pop up again. There's also articles on the website about mediation, and hopefully everyone will find that of interest. So finally, if you need a mediator, please do come to Mediator Locator. As you can see, we've got first-class people on our panel. You've met 4 of them today, and there's another 26 of them who are of a similar caliber to the excellent people we've had today. And finally, on behalf of Jim, Jeff, Rachel, Michael, and myself, and everybody at Mediator Locator, thank you so much for supporting us, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you in a mediation or at a future session. Thanks ever so much, and bye for now.